Hey everybody, welcome to the second week of class. Wanted to talk a little bit today about how your reading can improve your writing. And so last week I had you read 3 literacy narratives by Sherman Alexie, Malcolm X, and Frederick Douglass. And in the discussion board, you chose some of the powerful quotes for you. Now, in most everybody's explanation, they explained why that quote was powerful, how it resonated with them. But if we dig a little bit deeper, we can actually use some of these quotes to inform how we make our own writing stronger, okay? Because the better readers we are, the better writers we will become. And so we use these models, these examples. We see how these famous authors created some really powerful sentences, powerful passages, and we analyze how they did that so that we can then use those same techniques in our own writing. So I'm going to go through a few of the posts here and pick out a couple of the quotes that students recognized, and there was quite a few students that recognized or pulled out the same passages, so you might see these as very familiar quotes. So first, let's look at Christie's selection that she picked from Sherman Alexie. And she says, I refused to fail. I was smart. I was arrogant. I was lucky. Okay, very simple sentences that Sherman Alexie used, but they packed a punch. And you can see that there was actually repetition. I was, I was, I was. And so repetition, when used intentionally, can be a very powerful tool in our own writing. And look at those words he paired together. I was smart, arrogant, lucky. Those aren't necessarily 3 words that we would put together. They're not complicated vocabulary, but each of those words holds a lot of meaning, a lot of connotation with those. And so thinking about sentence structure and word choice. I was smart, I was arrogant, I was lucky. And that in and of itself creates a really powerful passage. So it's not necessarily the big vocabulary or the fancy long sentence structure that's going to pack a punch. It can be really simple and really repetitious as long as you're being intentional on that. So thanks, Christy, for pointing that out. Let's go back to the discussion board, and I'm going to find Jonathan's post here. He had another one from Sherman Alexie that I wanted to point out. And in Jonathan's, he wrote, quoted Sherman Alexie, I didn't have the vocabulary to say paragraph, but I realized that a paragraph was a fence that held words. The words inside a paragraph work together for a common purpose. Here, Alexie is created a metaphor. Okay, he's comparing a paragraph to a fence, but he didn't say a paragraph was like a fence. That would be a simile, using like or as to make the comparison. He says the paragraph is a fence. And so that metaphor is when something is something else and they're not at all the same. And so that really resonated with quite a few people on the discussion board. So how do we use metaphor, saying something is something else, or simile, something is like something else? So great job there, Jonathan. All right, let's look at one of the passages from Malcolm X, and I'm going to use Thomas's post here for that one. And the quote from Malcolm X that Thomas selected was, this is another one I saw multiple times in the discussion board, was he had never been so truly free in his life. Okay, what great irony. Irony is the opposite of what we would expect to happen. And so he's imprisoned, and we would think that he would feel trapped and captured, enslaved, whatever those words are. But instead, he's never felt so truly free in his life. And so that the irony that he can get that freedom in prison through teaching himself how to read and write. Really powerful there. So think about, how can I include maybe there's some irony in my literacy narrative. All right, let's take a look at a couple more. Frederick Douglass. I'm going to go to Melissa's post, and where are you? Oh, why am I not finding it here? Oh, there it is. Okay. And she quoted Frederick Douglass as saying, "As I writhed under it, I would at times feel that learning to read had been a curse rather than a blessing." What incredible tension there, okay? A curse and a blessing. And it both felt that way at the same exact time, that tension. He wanted to learn how to read, but at the same time, it created so much pain and sorrow in his life to learn how to read. And so thinking about what are the tensions that you've come across through your literacy narrative, through your learning to read and write. Tension is really powerful in narratives, and so pairing those together to create that tension, the curse and the blessing. One more here, and we're going to look at Wyatt's post, and also another Frederick Douglass that I wanted to point out to you. Wyatt quoted Frederick Douglass saying, "Slavery soon proved its ability to divest her of these heavenly qualities. Under its influence, the tender heart became stone, and the lamb-like disposition gave way to one of tiger-like fierceness." Ooh, we've got a couple things going on. We have the simile, right? Lamb-like disposition, tiger-like fierceness, okay? Comparing a woman to a lamb and a tiger. Characteristics using the word like, so we've got a bit of a simile there, but also the contrast. Look at those pairings: tender, stone, okay, lamb-like, tiger-like. So thinking about how you can, again, it's tension, how you can pick contrasts, really contrasting words, pair them together to really build the feeling, the imagery, the experience for your reader. So all of those are excellent examples about how reading others, writing their literacy narrative, how picking out those powerful passages can help improve our own writing. Because once we start to identify and analyze the strategies that strong writers have used, we start to implement, we start to plant those strategies into our own writing. So that hopefully will give you some ideas as you move forward in your literacy narrative this week. Your rough draft is due on Thursday, posted to the discussion board, and I will be giving feedback on every single rough draft. And it's a quick turnaround time because it's summer semester, so I'll give feedback on Friday, and then your final draft is due Sunday night. If you post early, I will try to get feedback as soon as I can, so that you have more of a turnaround time. And if you have any questions while you're working, please email me. I'm here to help, and have a great week.